Alright, so already, without even tightening this stuff down, I know we're in a good position. Much better, at least. So this isn't machine shop perfect. I didn't use a mill to do this. I was extra careful the second time to mark where it needs to be, but this is perfect. I got side to side movement, got up and down movement. And that means that those washers are going to be able to center the steer arm around the bolts. Now the first one I did, I had no side to side play because the two outer bolts were further apart than where they were supposed to be. So, and when I went to go put the hardware in, when it cinched everything down, there was a gap in between the cone washer and the steer arm. And as I started to tighten it, you could actually see the studs flexing. Actually, this is one of the studs from the other arm, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's bent. So I'm gonna have to replace this guy. These were new and straight. But yeah, so the old knuckle bent this guy because of how far apart the holes were. Anywho, so I'm a lot happier with what I did this time. And to show you what I did, how I got these marks laid out, and the tools I used. Alright, so first was a bit of how do I mount it. Got it mounted to the base plate of my drill press with a ball joint housing that I've removed all the innards from. Now this has a really tight tolerance fit in the knuckle, and it's got a good collar, provides excellent clamping force, and it's got an offset hole, so it will give me an extra bit of variation in the mount, because I'm just using a straight line off the base plate in relationship to the chuck on the drill, which those two positions are fixed. Like the only part that moved in between drilling the lines or drilling the holes was the knuckle itself. So I needed that little offset hole in order to make that happen. The other thing is my center punch. This was a full-length center punch that I cut down, so it's just long enough to fit through the knuckle so that way when I strike it, it would mark on the opposing knuckle. Alright, so the way I married these two together was I stripped everything off of this knuckle except for the welded turn stop and the upper ball joint. And then I just kind of eyeballed where these two fit together, and the ball joint kind of dictated their place in relationship to each other, and as well the relationship of the holes to the ball joint. So I just took a big C-clamp and I lock these guys together like that over the ball joint, and then from the opposite side, which I'm not going to flip it over, but I'll show you. I just put my center punch and marked the opposing knuckle. But now I can't get it out. Oh, there we go. So anyhow, I locked them together with a C-clamp. They were aligned with a ball joint. It gave me a much more accurate marking system than trying to use a steer arm to mark it. And then once I had the marks provided by my modified center punch, then I was able to drill and tap this guy. I didn't machine the top. I just kind of used a straight line sander and smoothed it out a little bit. Not aiming for perfection, just better than my first attempt, which I'm happy with this one. So it's not the smartest thing I've done here. I could have easily sent this out and had it done for around $50 or something, maybe 75 at the most, but I didn't want to do that. So instead I bought a pair of knuckles for $75 and I destroyed one of them in the process of figuring out how to do it myself. I also bought 9/16 18 tap and then this drill bit, which I needed for its size. The diameter is specific for the tap, which I think is 33/64. It's just 1/64 larger than a 1/2 inch. And it needed to be the appropriate length so that I could get it in my chuck it up, and use it in the press with the knuckle mounted. So once the knuckle was set up and I had my pilot bit aligned with my marks, I had to keep the knuckle mounted to the drill press the entire time from start to finish for each hole. So once I lined up the mark with the pilot bit, I locked it down, I double checked my pilot drill bit, I drilled that, I changed to a uni bit, then I ran 2 of these. I ran this one till it bottomed out at around 7/16 because I didn't have any more length to go. And then I used the next larger size up, which goes I think up to 9/16, but I stopped it at somewhere around 1/2 inch, I think. And then I run this one. So I ran a pilot, 2 step bits, this specific bit, and then I chucked up the tap. and I run the tap through the machine by hand. So I turn the shaft by hand. But I only did that with the tap because it was already aligned. I didn't want to hand tap it and have the possibility of having it go in slightly sideways. So that's it. Of course I stripped it. Took everything off. But yeah, I used another knuckle, clamped them together, sandwiching the ball joint between the two, kind of lined them up to where I thought it needed to be, and then I transferred with a transfer punch through the holes of one machine knuckle to the opposite side knuckle that was unmachined, and then did all the machine work or drilling work on my drill press and tapped it. And now I got a drilled and tapped passenger knuckle. I'm done. Thanks.